Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Oh, I got a treat for you today. We are celebrating Women's Month, and I've tried to invite some of those outstanding women in our community who are moving and shaking and rocking and rolling and doing things and making things happen. And we've got a lot going on right now. We've got she's here to tell her story. We've got Women's Month. We've got Bloody Sunday anniversary yesterday. So we're going to talk about all of those things with none other than Miss Shameka Parrish. Wright. Hello, my sister.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. I'm excited to have you because I needed some youth up in here. I needed some spirit, some get up, and you got to catch up with me, Miss Janice, because I'm on the move. So, the one thing that I wanted to do, I told our audience that I wanted to have you doing this Woman's Month,
hmm
so you could tell your story, how you
hmm
got involved in the activism, and what kind of moves you. What made you get involved?
Oh, wow. A great question to start with. Thank you and happy. Today is International Women's Day. So,
Absolutely.
right inside Women's Month, I think this is so fitting. Thank you. How life, right? Being a
Yeah.
Black woman, just growing up and trying to hold my family together, trying to hold life together, and
Hmm.
found myself going down a lot of long, dark roads with our Black men that I love dearly, starting with my father.
Okay.
And then my father was just as involved at 40 of his 56 years. He was in and out of jail and prison. But he had so much influence on my life. He would write me letters. All of his correspondence was about me not taking the same path as he did and me doing better with my life. And he was proud of me. I mean, before he died, he told me I was the best thing he did with his life, that
Oh,
he did with his
wow.
life.
That's
And he was,
wonderful.
yeah, is very proud of of the six children that I have. Now I'm on my third grandchild. My daughter's about to have the third grandchild. So when you say youth, I'm like, yes, because down at Injustice Square, working on and doing good work with the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement, they asked me to be a part of an elders council. So they called me elder at 44. So hearing you say bring some of that
I'm
youthful energy.
saying youth. Look, cause now I'm not quite double your age, but
Okay.
I'm not far from it. But
Oh
I
wow.
just I feel the enthusiasm. I
Yes.
feel a very youthful enthusiasm from you.
Yes. Thank you. I try to bring my whole self to everything that I
Okay.
bring. Most times I get it right. Sometimes I get it wrong, as you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
But how I got involved, I worked on issues around gentrification. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I lived
Okay.
in over the Rhine, Avondale, all over Cincinnati, but my roots are in over the Rhine. So I
Okay.
grew up just steps from Finley Market there. And then, I left an organization in 2001 and decided, you know what, I'm going to do something different. I had always come to Louisville on the party side. I used to come down here
Okay.
from Derby to go in the
It's a
West
party
End.
city.
Yes, and hang out. And I was like, wait, the clubs don't close at 2:30. Go do this, to go do that. And then I left an organization, which was a really hard choice. And I said, you know what? I'll go to Louisville. It's 100 miles away. If it doesn't work out, I can pack myself and my kids up and go back to
Right.
Cincinnati. But it
Right.
was my test city. So Louisville was my test city.
Okay.
Louisville was like, if you can come to Louisville and make it, then you probably can go to most places. And so that's what I did. I packed my kids up. I was pregnant with my fourth daughter and
Okay.
came and went to and decided I wanted to start my own nonprofit. I had done work around personal development, training, self-esteem building, gentrification, out community outreach and engagement. And I said I want to start my own nonprofit. So I went to school, went to JCC, and then transferred to U of L. But while I at one on my internship, I had a list of organizations to choose from. At the bottom of that list, I mean, the last organization was the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. And
Okay.
I said, that is a really unique name. And all
Right.
of my counterparts, because I was a human services major. And so all of my counterparts were going to, the usual things like YMCA, like Safe Place, Home of the
Right.
Innocents, Healing Place. And then my advisor said to me, Shameka, are you sure you want to go to that place? That's a different kind of place. I was like, yeah, I'm always down for an adventure. And I was like, yeah. And it just sounded so grand and so all encompassing that I wanted to be there. So I
Right.
call up and I talk to Alice Wade, and she tells me to come down the next day and see if it's a good fit. So I get there. First, I'm riding by because it's on Broadway. So I'm
Right.
driving back and forth. And I was like, whoa, where is this place? I'm looking for a grand building. But no, it was a house.
Say,
It
which
was
one
a
of these
house that
houses
had
is
been
it?
renovated. 3208 West Broadway. It had been
Right.
renovated into office space. So I was like, I walk in and immediately, Janice, it felt like I was walking back in time. It was like, okay, okay, I sat in the foyer. Alice was talking to some other folks. Alan Barnett, we've lost him too. We've lost Alice Wade. But
Right.
they were just going back and forth. So I was just sitting there. I sat there for 2 hours. And then I said, I'm here to interview for my practicum. I had all these signs that I should
Right.
probably hit the road, right? But
Right.
I just wanted to see. And
Right.
so she said, are you sure this is a good fit for you? I said, yeah, I'm willing to learn. I want to grow. I want to understand about the work that's been happening. And so she said, okay, well, you come back tomorrow. And I said, okay. I come back the next day. And I'm sitting there in the foyer again. And
Okay.
here comes Ann Braden. She had been teaching at
Oh, wow.
Kentucky University, and she comes in and she focuses in on her glasses and she says, who are you? I said, I'm Shameka. I'm this intern. I've done this work and here's my resume. And then she was like, oh, so you want to come here and do that? I said, yeah. So she was like, did you? I said, I already met Alice Wade and Alan Barnett yesterday. She gives me a stack of paperwork and tell me to go to the League of Women
League
Voters.
of
She
Women's.
has me go to all these community, and then she has me go to, there was a gentleman who had shot, a police officer shot someone who had been handcuffed and naked in the back. And so I was going to their civil suit just to monitor and see what was going on. And I just fell in love with like the work and the people. I met Dr. Blaine Hudson, who we've lost, Bonnie Hines
Right.
Hudson, Aletha Fields, Maddie Jones, Rhonda Mathis. The list goes on. Chris Phillips, like all these amazing people who have been around in such rich history. Tom Moffitt, all these amazing people. And so then I was hooked. I was
You met
doing everything they
you
told
met
you
the
not to do. They
soldiers, huh?
said, yes, yes.
You met the
And I was like
soldiers.
Bob Cunningham. All they told me, the school said, don't stay too long, only do your 20 hours. I was doing 40, 50 hours. I was going home to messages from Ann Braden. And the reason why I bring her up is because you talked about Bloody Sunday.
Right.
We talked about today is International Women's Day. Well, March 6th is when we lost Ann Braden. We lost her March 6th of 2006. And I remember she wouldn't even let me come to the hospital. I said, I gotta come. We had just worked on a grant to the Kentucky Foundation for Women, and she had me go turn it in, and that's how I met Judy Jennings. But I go to turn it in. I'm on my way home, and I get home, and Carla Wallace is calling me and telling me Ann's in the hospital. What's going on? I'm like, oh, I got to go up there. So Ann calls me, and this is when I had regular phone. She didn't call my cell phone. She called my
Right.
house phone.
Okay.
And she said, you can't come up here. We got work to do. I said, but Ann, what if something happens? You could be dying. She's like, I'm not dying. I don't have time to be dying. I'll be here. You just go and do what you got to do, and I'll see you Monday. And I said, like, told me not to come and she'll see me Monday. And I didn't go, and we lost her,
Yeah.
and I knew
What
she
an
just didn't,
inspiration though for you.
yeah, that was my
Oh, what an
inspiration.
inspiration for you. Man.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yeah,
I knew you were going to mention her name because
yeah.
she was like that integral piece that has to be a part of that movement, just like finally that our Caucasian brothers and sisters finally said they are doing this to them. That's like watching the last night watching Megan. I kept saying to myself, so what were you expecting? I mean,
Because you in the land where it's the whitest of the white, like it is
woo,
it's everything. And
look,
so
they help pay the people to bring us over here.
yes.
Come on now, don't get me started. So
So
anyway,
you got some white people like Ann Braden, and it's
yeah.
important to mention her for Women's History Month. She's worked with everyone from Scott King to Rosa Parks to Ella Baker. Her and Carl Braden were organizing, and Angela Davis and Susie Post, all these amazing people. But what I liked about Ann is that she would tell me, like, I see the world through my white eyes. No matter what I do, I still got white eyes. So it's important that I'm actively working because my people, something's wrong with my people. She didn't do
Hmm.
what she did for black people. She did it in liberation of black people. She definitely wanted black people to be free, but she did it because she saw something wrong with her people who were accepting their privilege that the white skin gave them and
Right,
hating black people and brown people and everybody else simply because they thought that sharing of resources of equality would take away from them. And so the
right.
fact that she turned against her own privilege, she was a Southern Belle. She used to tell me I didn't know if I wanted to be an actress or a writer, you know? She
Hmm.
had so many directions she can go in her life, and she dedicated her life towards the liberation of people,
Yeah,
of black people, but really the liberation of her own people
her
from
own
that
people.
mental slavery that they put themselves in, thinking that black people need to be under them when we deserve everything and more. And so it's just been an amazing journey. And it's not a way where I idolize this white woman. That white woman had flaws. She
Right,
and black women had problems with her in the organization, feeling like she lifted up some of the black men. She had some issues, but what I told them after she died, I said, you all should have brought that up while Ann was alive. Don't
right.
bring it
So
on
she
me
could
because
have,
I met her
so
at
she
this
could have
stage.
addressed it. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Address it
got
then
my
and don't attack me and
yeah.
question my blackness. Like they got to the point where they questioned my blackness because I came in where all of these things had happened and you all didn't bring it up. She now after my internship, she did make me submit a resume and push for me to be hired as an organizer. So I was hired after my internship. I was hired as an alliance organizer, but what happened is once she died, it created a vacuum, like most matriarchs when they
Right,
leave a family, when they leave anything. Black women, period, we hold everything up. So when she died, it created a vacuum. And so everybody's like, so some of the black women who felt like she overlooked them were coming out and they were lashing out against me. And I had to let them know, first of all, you all allowed this to happen. She ghost wrote the movement. She wrote letters for you all. She wrote the press things. She did all of these things consciously and in your favor to the point that when Dick Gregory and Reverend Lewis Coleman, after she passed,
Bubba.
they called when the Queen was visiting. Queen Elizabeth was visiting here,
Right,
and
right,
and it was just when they started shutting down Derby cruising and all of that,
right,
and we were fighting against how they were taking that money from the black community. But anyway, they called, and I answered the phone because I'm the only staff person. So they
right.
called the alliance and they said, Shameka, we need a letter. We need a letter to the Queen. And I was like, okay. So
Okay.
immediately I started researching, found out how you're supposed to address the queen. Then I then I just like put it together and told her what we were dealing with. And they took my letter, put the Justice Resource Center on the top of it, just
Yeah.
stamped that on the top of it, and they gave it to the news. And they had it delivered to the queen. And so that was
Wow.
the kind of thing that Ann Braden had been doing. A lot of people didn't know. She was like writing a lot of the communication and the awareness about issues. She was writing a lot of that, and that's good because it's a very important role because how you
Right.
communicate to the public about your movement makes a difference. So anyway,
Makes
a
a
lot of
big
people don't do
difference.
that. So you get Dick Gregory and Reverend Lewis Coleman calling you out of the blue and telling you to write a letter to the
Write a
Queen. I was
letter.
just like, okay, we'll figure this out. And
But you were semi prepared for that because you knew that that's what she had been doing.
yes,
So it was like you had to pick up where she left off because, like you said, there was a void.
Yes.
And that's when you step in with that OJT, with that on the job
Exactly.
training. Look, and you
Exactly.
said, okay, I'm going to have to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn as I go, but I'm going to
Yes.
learn how to do this.
Yes.
Oh,
That's exactly
girl,
it.
please.
So
What what you
all the women
said.
right, especially the Black women, all of them have been mentors, whether they recognize it or not.
Yeah,
I think that anything you believe in, the spirit of God, whatever God you follow, whatever it is, it moves through people, it moves through connections, through relationships, through you reaching out to me and saying, be a part of this. You helping me right now, where I'm at a moment where I want to break down because I just lost my friend.
yeah,
But the energy I feel because you're making me relive all these
yeah,
special moments I had with a very special woman who
yeah.
I knew least. I only knew her the last few years of her life. I got to work with her every day in and out to the point where she would talk to me about everything. And we built up a relationship. And she told me about Martin Luther King and she told me about drinking. And she said to me, Shameka, I wasn't ready to get married to Carl, but Carl was safe. Carl brought me a long way in activism because he was not, they were both reporters at the Courier Journal. I don't know what it was
Right.
called then, but they were both reporters. And
Courier
so,
Journal.
and
I
Carl's
think
family
it's
had,
always been that.
yeah, exactly. Always had a strong history in union organizing. Carl was definitely a Marxist. He
Hmm.
tried to name his dad tried to name him Karl Marx, but the priest at the Catholic Church wouldn't let him. So Carl grew up in the movement. Carl
Right,
Brady, who isn't
right.
often talked about, and so he was actually 10 years older than Anne, and he helped bring Anne a long way. But she said to me, Shameka, I saw so many white women getting into this movement to sleep with the Black leaders. And I mean, when you look at the leaders and you hear how charismatic and you hear the stories, you can see how those kind of things can happen. You are working with someone that's the most passionate, you somebody that's aligned with your ideas, and then you're spending all this time with someone. If you're not disciplined, you can fall into that.
Right,
She
right.
she married Carl as a safety precaution so that
So
she wouldn't
she
fall into
wouldn't do that. Oh,
and she'd be recognized for her work, and she didn't
okay.
want it to be painted with affairs and things. So she
Right.
did that. That's the choice I think Coretta made. I think that when I hear the stories about Martin Luther King, I hear that he was dating, he was the guy of the campus, he had
Right.
all these things going on, and the elders sat him down and said, "Look, it's got to be you. You got to lead, but you can't be leading with a white woman on your arm. You got to be leading with, you know." And so I think they kind of like connected him and Coretta.
Right.
Coretta could have been her own woman without Martin Luther King. And
Right.
so she knew when she accepted that marriage and that role, her strength was going to be in holding up this person, this figure. Because behind those great men are amazing women who helped them get to where they are, who are dealing with all the stuff that comes with them. Like people see my husband and they're like, oh my God, he's so handsome, he's so quiet. You don't live with him. You don't deal with all the stuff we deal with, right? So when I think about the decision Anne made, I think about the decision Coretta Scott King and all these amazing women made. We've been doing that. We will make decisions not just based on our heart, but based on our commitment to love, to family, to justice, to community. We'll make these sacrifices for our own life. And so I've been telling people my theme this month is you really want justice, you got to be willing to sacrifice something. What are you
Right.
sacrificing to get to justice? Like your commitment to produce quality information and have guests on that's really speaking to the lives of people.
Right.
That's a real commitment because you really could be talking about fashion. You could be talking about music. You could be talking about all these other things that people are into right now. But what you're talking about and what you have your shows about are really prominent issues that we have to deal with as a people. And
Exactly.
that's a commitment. And that means you lose it, you lose some audience. That means you lose something. So I keep telling people, you want justice? Do you really want it? Are you really ready to sacrifice what it takes? Are you ready to sacrifice? You might not make no money. Are you ready to sacrifice? You might not
Not
ever
every
be as
dime.
famous as you want to be. You got to
Yeah.
say, I'm
Yeah.
making this commitment like Anne did, and not praising Anne because she's a white woman that did it, because all white people should recognize their privilege and use their resources to fight these issues with us. But
Right.
also recognizing that the consciousness of saying, I'm going to take this role with purpose. And
Right.
every woman that's marrying a black man or marrying marrying to save their family or marrying to make sure they give their kids a better life are making the choices every day. And Black men too, to stay, to not follow temptation. And that's the
Right.
things that we don't talk about enough. That level of discipline that it takes to stay. That
Right.
staying power that we have to stay in these relationships or these commitments is the same staying power we need in the justice movement, because it's not something that's going to necessarily make you rich. It's not something that you're going to actually see everything accomplished. You might be able to see some things along the way, but this fight is going to continue long after me and you are gone. But
This
what
is
we're
this is
doing
the
here,
this is the marathon.
yes, it's the marathon, and you got to be intentional. So that's what I loved about Ann Braden. That's what I loved about Tom Moffitt is that they were intentional. And all
Yeah.
the other the Dr. Blaine Hudson, I learned he hired me for some work, and I said I felt guilty taking a paycheck because I learned so much. I could listen
Right.
to him speak about history and just so knowledgeable, and I learned that, Shameka, you're supposed to learn from every life that you
Every
cross.
every life that you
Every
touch.
life. That's why when you reached out, I was like, oh, yeah, I got to do this. I didn't even know all the things about your show, but
You
I
don't,
knew the
but
way
you don't know me. You don't know anything about me.
the way you
But
reached
what I
out.
want to say to you is, my profession is I'm a professional jazz singer.
See,
I
that's
wasn't. I said it's not about music right now.
right.
To me, it's not about music. When I saw everything going on, it was like, okay, so now I think it's time to have conversations. Because we always say, well, that's a conversation for another day. No, today is the day for the conversation.
You're right. The time is now. The
Let's
time is
get
now. And
busy.
that's how we set up Injustice Square. I happen to work for the Bail Project. We are a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
We help people get out pre-trial. They haven't been convicted. Once we help them get out, we do court reminders. We help make sure they get back to court.
So,
So my
wait a minute. So now, what you're talking about is you're going to tell us about the Bail Project.
yes, the Bail Project.
BAIL, making bail. When you go to jail, you have to make bail. Okay.
Yes, yes, BAILPROJECT.org. If people want to learn more about who we are and what we do. I came on board in 2018. Louisville was the third city. We're now in 24 different cities and jurisdictions. We're spreading the work because incarceration, pretrial incarceration is expensive. It's a problem, and it leaves a horrible impact on the children, on the families, on the lives of the people who are incarcerated. But here's my personal note. I was held at 18 in 1995 on an unaffordable cash bail, $10,000 at 10%. And guess what? I was defending myself in a relationship. My fiance, who happens to be the son of a sheriff for 30 years, put his hands on me, and I picked
Hmm.
up a weapon and fought back. When
Okay.
I fought back, that changed it. I couldn't file. I couldn't plead self-defense because I picked up a weapon, and with Ohio law, I couldn't do that. So
Okay.
I found myself in jail 38 days. 38 days. I was 18. I was on my way to college. I already have a 3-year-old, had a 3-year-old child. I was in there, sitting there, not for no other reason. He's out. He got domestic violence, and he was out. He came to court. He told the judge he did all these things. And I'm sitting there, and literally because I'm poor. It's a pay as you go system. I
Right.
sit there, and then the public defender contacted me and said, "Well, you take this plea deal, you can get out." And I said, "Plea deal to what?" I was defending myself. He was like,
Hmm.
"Well, you fight it in court. It can take this amount of time and take a long time. You might get an acquittal. I don't know, but you have a weapon you used, and so that can be held against you, and you're facing 8 to 14 years in prison."
Oh
And I
Lord.
said, "You know what?" And I took the 2-year plea deal, 2-year probation, got out. I ain't no looking back. I ain't been in trouble like that since I was arrested for um, the Breonna Taylor protest, trying to
Right.
get to sanctuary. I haven't been in that situation like that since. And so when I found that out, I just said, "What is happening here? Why is this happening?" And so anyway, I never would have thought sitting in that jail cell that I'd be doing this kind of work today. I did the same prayer everybody else does and get locked up. God, get me out of here. I'm never coming back,
I'll
you
never
know?
do this again. You just let me.
And especially watching my dad experience that, and
Yeah, yeah.
experiencing that with my dad. I'm his only child. So experiencing that with him, I said I didn't want that path. And so once I got out, I went to college. And ain't been no looking back. That daughter is now 28 and about to have her second child. That's where my third grandchild is
Go
coming.
ahead.
But
Okay.
but still, if you run my fingerprints, that's what comes up. And now that as I'm running for mayor, they'll bring everything up that I've ever done. But
You
I
running
stand
for
strong.
mayor?
Yes, Mayor of Louisville. And
Go
I
ahead,
stand
girl.
strong in that decision because at that moment I was scared. I wanted to see my daughter. I didn't have the energy to fight. And those are the kind of decisions we see people make every day with our work. So I was already in those buildings downtown. I was once appointed by the mayor as a human relations commissioner. I always lobbied Metro Council if it was for the teachers, if it's for minimum wage, if it's for housing. I've always been down in that building. I'm at the Hall of Justice because of my work. I'm at the jail because my team and I interview people from the jail. I've been in the mayor's hall. So I said, you know what? The center of our city government is right here at Jefferson Square Park, which nobody cared about. It was Hot Dog Park, right? But
Right,
protests have happened there before, and I've been in those protests. So I said, you know what? We're going to build a base right here in the middle of city government so they can see, they won't forget. They'll be reminded every day that we want justice for Breonna Taylor and why. And now you got 283 days later, we're still seeking justice. One
right,
year, this Saturday is 1 year. March 13th of 2020
right,
is when they killed Breonna Taylor. Now we're going into a new phase of people, our young people are saying, we're not going back to business as usual. And so now they try to overly arrest us and overly process us. But the people, these young people are not scared, Janice. They're ready to put their bodies on the line for this movement. And I said, you know what, when they made the decision to hire Chief Shields, I said to myself, why do we always reach outside of the box for what we need? There's an amazing woman that's come up through the ranks at LMPD named Levita, who is now being forced to retire, I hear. But why is it that we keep reaching outside of the box instead of promoting somebody from within who
in the
knows the
box. Who
language,
already knows
who
the
knows
problems,
the land, exactly, who
knows
knows
the
the
culture.
problem, exactly, who knows the culture, who knows the issues, and she's a black woman too. So interim chief Yvette Gentry didn't want it. Okay, she
Right.
didn't want to be there. But you have Janice. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm calling her your name.
I was
You have
getting ready to say
Levita.
now
I think it's
I'm
Levita
bad, but I
Davis.
don't know if I'm that bad.
Janice is the person too, right? So you have Levita, who literally could have been promoted up and to be chief and give her that opportunity to help build and heal the city. But
Right,
no, we go and reach out and we bring a woman in who is not connected. And we think that that's going to give us the answers we need. And that is
no,
the problem time and time again. And that is why I am running. That's when I made the decision because I was down in Georgia, door knocking in Atlanta for Warnock and Offset. And so
right,
I was door knocking with Representative Scott, her daughter, my daughter. We went down there on and like they needed the help and they called out. So we went down there. Representative Scott had went down there before with and her daughter for Stacey Abrams and door knock. And I
right,
said, I missed that opportunity. I'm going down for this. So we
right,
went down and the people were so amazed. They was like, where are you from? We're like, from Louisville. I said, look, we missed our chance to get Mitch out of office in Kentucky. So now we putting our money in your bank and we need you all to get reduce some of that power. If
right,
Warnock and myself get in there, that
right.
relinquishes some of that power from Mitch. And they were like, we can't believe you drove down here for this. Yes, we
Yes,
matter. All of our states matter. And everybody know you change the South, you start to change the world. Anybody that's been organizing know that your organizing has to penetrate the South because what you're able to do in Midwest, West, and Northeast and
right.
is different. When you're in the South, you're still in a whole different territory. There's people in some of those counties that don't even know they're free. So you
Mm.
got to do the real
What you
work of
say?
people.
They don't even know they're free. Huh?
They don't know. And so while we were down there, that's when
Wow.
I got the news that Chief Shields was coming here. And okay, I'm like, you quit when the similar situation happened with Rashad Brooks. You did get
Right.
upset. You did speak out. but you left that situation,
Yeah.
and now you're gonna
The
come here and
next day.
situation like.
Yeah. So that's what I said. So how can you, they needed to heal. So you come to do. So what you come to do? Antagonize us while we trying to heal?
I think
I
she
didn't
has
get
a
it.
progressive agenda, but here's the problem, Janice, that many of us who've been doing this work in this city for 20 plus years know. The police don't follow the chief. They do what they want to do. We have these community meetings with them, and then they'll tell us one thing, and we're working on relationships and healing, and we want to build trust. And then their police come and arrest us aggressively. They treat us like dogs. They hunt us down. Anything you do near that park, you can do anything you want in other parks. You can run naked and you won't be arrested as aggressively and attacked the way we've been at Injustice Square. So I
Right.
said, if we really want these demands met, if we really want to focus on the people's agenda, if we really want a elected official or a candidate that's going to keep the people first, then people like me, people like you, people who with a real people's agenda have to run. And I had planned on getting more better judges elected. There's over 40 judicial seats coming up next year. Next year's ballot is going to be crazy. And
I
so I
can.
said, you know what? This is the time to run. I've been out here with Black women. We're already mayors. People don't realize that. We already decide who gets what, when, where, and how. We're already mayors in our house. We're mayors in our homes. We're mayors at work. We're mayors at and work and family and church. We are the mayors. And we got to stop thinking that rich white businessmen are the only ones that have the answer, or rich white like businessmen. So like you have Councilman James, you were the president of the FOP, sir. You were president of the organization that started all of this civil unrest, the LMPD,
Hmm.
who killed a woman in the middle of the night. You were their president, and now you've been council person, and now you think you deserve to be the next mayor. What are you going to do that's different? That's why I've been telling people I'm not more the same. And everybody knows me from the work that I've been able to do. They know that it's bigger than Injustice Square. It's the world is watching on the decisions we make because everyone is dealing with police state, over policing, violent policing, police
Right.
brutality has run our cities and our towns for too long. So
Right.
we got to be willing to take our power back. They work for us. They are
Right.
paid to
Right.
enforce law. We don't pay them to be the only law of the land to the point where they're judge, jury, and executioner. So they can come they can kick in my door right now and come and kill me. And that's okay. And it's justified. And
Yeah.
that's not what we deserve. And I've been telling people we deserve better. We get there together. So that is the main reason why I am running. Separate from my other roles in the community, I sit on several community boards from La Casita Center to the Homeless Coalition, Containment Care, to the co-chair of the Kentucky Alliance. Now, I ran for that seat 3 times. And I said that I wanted to be co-chair. So I'm co-chair with Tyra Walker, Dre Dawson, and myself.
I
But
heard you
I'm
say
here
that the
with
other day on a
yeah,
Zoom thing. You said
you did.
I wanted it to be a co-chair. I don't want it to be. It's a co-chair. I
I
said
know that's
okay.
right. I did. And so I've been telling people that it really takes, we have white, rich businessmen who hold all these titles, who sit on all these boards, and people don't question their ability to be committed. But people say to me, oh, Shameka, you're a mother of 6. You're doing this and you're doing that. Can you really handle being a mayor? I'm already doing it. I already have sleepless nights.
You've
I
got to
already have
prove
people.
yourself.
Yes, I always
You've
got to
got
prove
to be
myself more.
vetted, darling.
Yes. And I
Ha-
already have sleepless nights. I'm already making the decisions that impact people's lives,
what you say, sleepless nights.
connecting to like everything that I do is mayor. Like I'm already managing all
Right.
these other things in the community. And you want to doubt because I'm not rich. You want to doubt that I can't help manage the city, that I can't learn, that I can't wrap the people around me who to help make those decisions, that I can't bring people like you, people who are closest to the situations and help make those solutions. That's why Black women running as mayor is taking over. It's happening not just here in many states, because look at Keisha Lance Bottoms. Look at
Right.
all these people who are like, you know what, we can use these mayor positions and really bring the change we need, because local politics is everything. So that's
Right.
why using my position, using everything I have has helped me to move forward. But what I'm doing with the Bail Project is separate. I know how to wear different hats, like your beautiful hat. I know how to wear
Thank you,
different
darling.
hats because they, it matters. It matters that you have representation that looks like you, and it gives our young people, and that's who I'm really running for, because they've given up hope, Janice. They're willing to die for this
I'm gonna
movement.
tell you. Let me say this to you. I'm gonna let you take a breath. 'Cause, see, this is what I said when I said I knew that you had something to tell us, and you
Yes.
can't get it in a sound bite.
No.
But see, I know right now that Miss Shameka Parrish Wright knows what she knows, what she knows she knows. That's what I have nieces, and I'm saying there's when you know what you know that you don't need, no one else can question you. No one else can make you doubt yourself. And to be able to stand up on what you know that
Yeah.
that's a heck of a stance right there.
Yes.
So when you step out on that, you step out on it like the woman that you are, because you got your skill set is you have a plethora, as they would say, from A to Z. Say, so what is it that you need me to do? Oh, I've had experience in that. I've had experience in that. And you are the voice. Sounds to me, my sister, that you have the voice that we need to hear.
I
That
appreciate
that's
that.
that's ready. That's ready to lead. I
Yeah.
mean, girl, you done got me almost raised up off this chair down and put these two pillars in so I can be taller. But I'm saying that's what I was talking about. That youthful energy. I mean, you done
Yeah.
brought tears to my eyes. You just make me feel, because I know they don't have any hope. Well,
Yeah.
I left Louisville when I turned 21,
Mm-hmm.
22, and I went away. And when I came back, I was told that our kids don't expect to live past 18 years old. I said, what? They said, they don't. They don't. And I'm like, why? Because I know I came from a very vibrant upbringing, you know, not not with all the crime that we see today, but Louisville was a whole nother place. A whole, I mean, I was born in Beach Terrace.
Oh, wow.
I'm born in Beecher Terrace, but real quick, I was the first to graduate college in my family, Kentucky State. I've got 50 years in show business, lived in Paris, lived in New York, lived in
Right.
Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when I come home, you don't know what I've done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know me, but you don't know me.
I love
But
that.
um, I'm here, and this was more important to me. I'm a child of the civil rights movement.
You are.
I demonstrated for open housing,
Nice.
1968. I was standing on 28th and Greenwood when the riot broke out. See, it
Wow.
wasn't really a riot that broke out. A little boy threw a pop bottle off a building. And when that pop bottle crashed, everybody scattered.
Wow.
You hear me? I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not that it was just a riot that ensued after that. It was chaos. It was chaotic, but it was caused by a child's prank.
Right.
Okay, uh, and my involvement. My mother took me to Martin Luther King's funeral.
Wow.
That was big to me.
That's
And
huge.
she took me out of school. She said, "You're involved." I used to go to Quinn Chapel up on Ninth and Chestnut. When I get out of school, I say, Mama, I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to catch the bus. I'm going to Quinn Chapel. If I'm not home by 10 o'clock, pick me up at Children's Center.
Wow.
Okay. So I've got my I've got my marching papers,
Yeah.
because I've been there and I've done that. And let me say this to you. I was watching Saturday on Facebook. I got stuck because I saw kids marching down on Jefferson Street. And I'm watching, um, and I know that our presence is antagonistic in itself.
Exactly. When you show up, thank you. When we show up, when our young people show up, they already are treated as weapons. Just their
Right.
brown skin, just their black skin, just their beautiful skin. When they see that, they're already threatened. And so thank you for acknowledging that part.
I saw
Anytime
that
we
and I,
come up
I was
on the
like,
scene.
so, but there's another piece to that, that how we need to go about it. Because I'm watching different people and I'm saying there are some things that have not been passed on to you,
Right.
to them, to say, this is how you do this. This is how you move. This is when you sit down.
Mm.
This is when you start singing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? This is when you do those kind of things. This ain't when you cuss them out. You don't
Yeah.
have to say nothing because just the mere fact
Just
that
your
you are
presence
there
or
in
holding
their
sign.
face.
Yeah, you could just sit there and hold a sign and get the message, or you can pass out literature that makes them read and engage and look at. So there's ways to approach it. I think our young people have always been bold, have always
Always.
been
Yeah.
have always been showing up, and the ones that decided to sit at the lunch counters, those weren't the ones that many people said don't do that, but
Right.
they chose to do it. But the way that they did it, they were disciplined. They
They
sat
sat there. They
they
took it.
strong message like Rosa Parks sitting on
Right.
that bus. I'm gonna respectively tell you, no, I'm not going anywhere. So there is ways to do it, and I think that they're still learning that. And I
Right.
think that they did not want that intention. But I will say, the chants that they've been singing and those things, they've been singing those period, and then all summer long. And I
Yeah.
think that nobody was thinking like, okay, we're around a different audience. Maybe we should change some of those chants and take some of those words. And that I think when that messaging came out, they've been looking to make protesters violent, um,
Right. They
unorganized.
want to change the law that you can't say something to a policeman. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
They
And
already
that's what
have
the
qualified
legislation.
immunity. What else you want to give them?
Exactly. They're the most, thank you, Janice. They're the most protected working class. They have more protections than any of us on our jobs.
Yeah.
Any of us. And we're just saying, can you all be held accountable when you make a mistake?
Make a
When you
mistake.
mess up,
Exactly.
because if I mess up, I'm getting a drug test. I'm going to be questioned. I don't get to run in and out and do what I want to do while a murder
And
investigation
have
is
have
happening.
6 different ways to appeal my case.
Yes, exactly. And then I don't have to say nothing for 48 to 72 hours. So then that really makes you be able to have an advantage of creating a narrative. And that's what we've been seeing this whole time. They've been able to create the narrative,
Create
and
a
they want to
narrative.
distract.
Exactly.
LMPD is guilty, and they want to distract from that. Now I know people say, how can you say that when if you become mayor, they're going to be under you? Yes, I understand that. But accountability should be transparent no matter what position you're in. And when
Right.
you're in a public sworn to protect and serve position, then you have to live your life up aboard. Because guess what? If our young people saw the police committing less violence, that's one way to directly impact gun violence. What does gun violence feed from? You've seen that people with guns have power, have control, can dominate a
Mm, yeah.
situation, and that's what they're getting in their heads. Every
Right.
time they see a police officer with a gun, they see the changes in me and you. Like me and you, we got insurance, we got license, we're legit. But I'm still, police get behind me right now, I still feel something. And so our kids see that. They see
Right.
us reacting. They see us telling them to be quiet, put their seatbelt
Right.
on, straighten up right. They see us jerking and acting. That's telling them that those people, why do they have power, mom? They got on a uniform, they got a gun. And
Right.
those two things changes things. And if you look at gangs have uniforms and they have weapons.
Right.
If folks really want to really talk about the real issues of gun violence, you keep every time there's a increase in gun violence, you want to go to a black church or a church in the West End or what you consider the bad ends of town, like gun violence ain't happening all over our city. All those murders that happen, if you read the news or you look at the news, it looks like all 170 something plus murders happen in the West End. That's not
Right.
true, Janice.
Right.
But
Right.
that's the images they give us. So then the leaders, the officials, come to the West End and have these town halls and say, come in here, y'all got to get y'all people to stop doing gun violence. But the people showing up into these town halls ain't the killers. Those
Hmm.
ain't, what messaging do you have to the people who actually make that choice to kill? What targeting message do you have? You're talking to their grandparents, their aunts, their cousins maybe. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking to the church they go to the community center they might go to. But those people ain't gonna show up at no anti-gun violence rally and tell you why they killing somebody. What do you have? But if they see that the police are actively making changes, that they have social workers with them, mental health people with them,
Right.
that's helping them so they don't have to kill within the first 30 seconds that they arrive on the scene, guess what that does? That changes hearts and minds. When
Right.
they see the police using a gun or using a gun as the ultimate last thing they should do in any given situation,
Right.
guess what that does? That
Right.
changes hearts, that changes minds. If we want to get a hold of our gun violence, it starts with us getting a hold of the violence that's committed by those that are sworn to protect and serve. They are the most violent gang like behavior we have in our city.
Right.
They kill us in the middle of the night. And even if they think it's drugs, there wasn't no drugs in Brianna's home.
No.
But
No.
even if it was drugs, are you telling me what you thought you was gonna find in her
Right.
house was more important than her life?
And
Is
no. And
that what
then
you're
you
saying?
search. You search her house before you give attention to her body laying on the ground.
Because you don't care. You want to be right. You want to be
Yeah.
right, so you want to find these things, and then you let an officer leave for two
Yeah.
hours, confirmed by a bartender that he had a drink or two, come back and take whatever he want out of the scene. So that those levels of inaccountability is what fosters more gun violence.
Right.
People don't want to talk
And it
about that
doesn't
part.
help with trust because
It
what you
doesn't.
said is where we are trying to get to. We
Yep.
need to change hearts
Yep.
and minds
Hmm.
because we do a lot of things and when I do this show and I want voices to be heard because there has to be somebody somewhere that says something that can make a difference.
Hmm.
And I know that when I have the show, I'm preaching to the audience. I'm preaching to the choir rather. So that the choir is listening. But every time we have an opportunity to try to change a heart or a mind, because still when we go out, I told my husband, I said, my husband's a minister. I said, they could stop you, and then it doesn't matter who you are, your whole adrenaline just goes to a whole nother place. But I think with you at the helm, Miss Shameka, I think we be that's like Mr. Ja'Cory Arthur. I said, woo, they don't know
He's
what this brother's
powerful.
getting ready to bring to the forefront
He
because
is
he ain't
powerful.
no
I wish
joke.
that I would love to be able to work with him as a council member. We need strong council member.
Yeah,
My councilwoman is Keisha
it's
Dorsey.
Miss
She's
Keisha
amazing.
Dorsey. Oh, yes,
Paul
she is.
McCraney is amazing.
All of them.
We have some people that are willing to be bold and make changes, and we have to work across lines of difference and to meet because our whole city is suffering. I've been telling people that even if you didn't get COVID, we're all impacted by it. That is
Right.
the real culprit of the year of 2020. The
It's
real
it's
culprit is
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
And then we have the police abuse that ignited this civil unrest that people don't want to deal with. And then we have our young people who are being blamed for everything. Every time something goes wrong, it's the young people. Every time there's some type of issues or unrest, it's the young people. No, the young people are products of an environment that we help create, that we foster. We have to also know that this is their present, this is their future, this is their past, this is their history being made right now. This is her story. Are we listening to them enough? And I think as elected officials, we have to listen more. And just leaders and just elderly, like all of us have to listen more. And we got our experiences, we got things that we know, but they're living it right now. They know what it feels like to come up on that scene. They told me they will die. They told me at that Injustice Square, Miss Shameka, I'm willing to die. I'm tired. And I ain't, I've been through a lot, but I just been like, I always found a reason to hold on. But
Right.
they're not finding the same reasons you and I found to
Right.
hang on. They
Cause
don't,
it,
and
it
our
it looks it has an appearance of looking hopeless.
it
I said,
does.
but if we don't have hope and we don't have faith at the same time, then we lost.
Our actions
So
have to match our words with them, and that's
absolutely.
what, like you and I, our parents could probably just say, you know what, this is Jesus, this is Easter, and we just accepted it. But all these things are being broken down for them, and
Hmm.
then when they see adults saying one thing and doing
And
another,
doing another.
it does not help. That's why the police is part of the problem that people don't want to deal with. I'm not running this whole campaign based on the police, but there's no way to run this campaign without knowing that we have to address the police. We also have to address the injustices that are baked into the hiring practices. Why a lot of why we don't have livable wages, why we don't have people who can stay here, why we're not creating environments where our young people want to go away like you and I did and come back
Come
and
back.
get their education and come back, or get their education and stay, because there's not a lot of opportunities. That glass ceiling, you've broken through it, I've broken through it. So imagine what it feels like to them. You feel smothered. You feel like I'm just here to pay bills and die. That is not what life is about.
No,
And our young
not at
people
all.
are tired, and they're like, we're not accepting that. And they're not. And here's what I've been telling people: the time is now. We can't wait. Back in the day, it'd be like, wait your turn,
No,
find an
no.
opportunity. Even
Can't
Ann
take your
Braden
foot
told
up
me
off the gas pedal right now.
exactly. You have to just get in where you can fit in and take control and do what's needed to be done, because some of us are so protected. Even in Black people can be privileged. So when we talked about that changing hearts and minds that you mentioned, that is the biggest thing I tell people. We don't just have to change hearts and minds with white people. We have to do
Right,
it with our own.
right.
The biggest thing we fight with this Breonna Taylor case, and with police abuse and police accountability, is that people are saying, well, if they just comply, our people, our Black people, if they just comply, they'll be fine. My friend Sam DuBose complied, pulled over, still died at a traffic stop off of a missing license plate that he had in his car. And he showed the officer. The officer came to the car with the gun already cocked. This was just 2015, right around the time Sandra Bland passed
Mm-hmm,
away.
mm-hmm.
Came to the car with the gun already cocked. And he started up his car, because back in the day, because I grew up where he was killed at was where he would pick me up for the drive-in. I grew up right at that street on Valencia. And so I knew where he was going. He was going around the corner so he can get to where his family is and know that he has witnesses
It's safe.
and somebody
Yeah,
is able to make, because he felt something wasn't right. But
right.
back in the day, we didn't even stop for University of Cincinnati police. When they got behind you, you're like, why are you down here all the way? But now they have contracts with the University of Cincinnati police, the Cincinnati police. So this guy that pulled my friend Sam DuBose over, Ray Tensing, already was racial profiling him from when he passed the university, and
Mm-hmm.
followed him down in that valley, and then pulls him over and says, I pulled you over because your front license plate was missing. So you follow me all the way down here to pull me over, and then you come, your gun's not on safety, your gun is cocked, and your gun is aimed at my head over a missing front license plate.
Shameka,
And then the car
Shameka,
is not
hold
even
up,
registered to
hold up,
him. It's registered to his girlfriend. So
hold up,
now you just
hold up. It could be anything,
it
sweetie.
could
Okay,
it could.
it could be anything. And what I'm gonna say to you is, you can come back whenever you want to come back. When
Okay.
you look, you can call me 10 minutes before and say, Miss Janice, I'm ready now. You ready for me?
Yeah, we got so much to cover. I do want to come back,
Oh, yeah,
especially
but
this
look,
time, to talk about my
how much
mayoral
look, I
race,
can
and then
look,
yeah,
I know you're a little flushed
yes,
because you're holding this in,
yes,
and until you get out in front of your constituents,
yes,
you know, you have to start letting your voice be heard. And that's what running for mayor is to let your voice be heard.
that's true.
And I want to thank you, my sister,
Thank
for
you.
letting your voice be heard on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
I love it. We did that for Cornel West. So, and finally cornered him down one of her last trips to DC for a protest. And she said, Shameka, I got him to come. And I said, okay, so what are we gonna do? And it was the first time she let me design the flyer and the write up for it and everything. And because she was saying I was sensitive, because I would get my paper back and it'd be all red, and or she'll mark it up. But then she let me do it. I said, I know what we can do. We can say, guess who's coming to dinner, and then have Cornel West. And that was one of our biggest unity dinners, because we have unity dinners as the Alliance. That was one
Okay.
of our biggest ones. And I was so proud that she let me come up
Oh,
with
so we
the
have
theme.
something in common
Yes,
anyway.
we do. We are,
I
and
didn't even know it.
was a hit. It was a hit. People bought into that, and I was like, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" And
That's
he came
wonderful.
to our dinner, and he for free. He didn't charge. That's how much people respected Ann's work. Like
Right.
No Charge, Ozzie Davis, amazing. All these amazing people came because of the work that Ann did. Ann and Carl and all of the people of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. So these relationships, the work that you're doing is so, so valuable because you never know what lives you touch.
Never.
So
Now
guess
you
who's
see
coming to
what's
dinner
you see
again?
my little ticker tape running across the bottom?
Yes,
Is that
yes.
right? The
And
Bell
it's got
Project?
too many L's, but it's bellproject.org. You need
Oh,
just one
girl.
L. Other than that, it looked good.
Look, tell me I got too many L's. Think
So
I
guess
can't
who's
get
coming to
rid of
dinner?
it.
When you said that, I was like, I love it. And it really was a success because people are like that, there's a whole movie about it and all of that.
Oh,
But with
right.
yeah.
So that's why I went there, because
I love it.
in actuality, I'm doing this show on the internet because it's supposed to be on a local network affiliate TV show
Well, let's call
where
that
we're
in the
actually
field.
going to sit down and have dinner with,
Yes.
prepared by some of these fabulous black chefs
I
in
love it.
in our city. Yes,
Yes.
and talk about and I like to say chew it up,
Yes.
you know.
The time is now. We got to do it.
But thank you so much. I know you were having a rough day and a rough
I
time.
was. I
You
was.
you 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 brightened up my day, and I hope
Thank
I
you.
gave you a little boost, make you feel a little better. And
Thank you. And
I
tell
want
people
you to
to visit
stay.
KentuckyAlliance.org. And if they want to add something about the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement, a meme, a quote, a poem, go to WeGetThereTogether.com and they can
We
submit
get there
that.
together.
.com. Yep.
Okay, I'm,
This
I'm
is
gonna put it. I'm gonna put another post up with your picture on it, with
Thank
all that
you.
information on it,
Thank
so I can send
you.
it out. You're fabulous.
Thanks, love. You take care, okay?
You're fabulous, and thank you so much for coming. And God bless you, child.
You too.
If you
Bye.
need me, holla.
I will. Bye, love.
All right, sweetie. Wow. Now that was Miss Shameka Parrish Wright with for the Kentucky Alliance. She's running for mayor, so I think we need to pay attention and to hear what she has to say. She's got a lot on her plate. She's seen a lot. She's been involved. She's been on the front lines. She's that people person in the community that knows about the community, knows kind of what the community needs, and that's somebody that we need to lead us. I think she has excellent potential. All of that. She is all of that. I enjoyed her. She just energized me. So, um, this is today is Monday. Friday, we're going to have Representative Pamela Stevenson, and she'll be on, and we'll get to know her a little bit better. So, and then until then, guess who's coming to dinner? Bon appetit. This is JC. See you later.